This time on Watchers of Tomorrow, Pulaski, the stepmom?
Hello, welcome to Watchers of Tomorrow, the sci-fi review and critique show that has some serious daddy issues. My name is Gep, and I'm joined as always by friend and co-host Dr. Izix.
Hi.
And this week we are doing the dad episode.
The dad episode.
You know the dad episode.
Yeah,
I know you know this.
Where you have a whole bunch of dads and they're kind of just being all like, hey, sport, let's play some baseball, right?
Yes, the aliens don't know the human concept of dads.
Yeah.
Because, they reproduce asexually, you see. And they scan the crew's mind, and each one becomes one of the crew's fathers and tries to throw baseballs at them.
Only some of them are able to catch because, in the future, we don't learn how to catch.
Yeah.
No, this is not what it's about at all.
Once again, we've written a more interesting episode.
I will say that there is some interesting stuff going on here, but it is 100% a character episode. There's, no weird alien anomaly of the week. There's no dealing with Romulans or something like that. There's no Planet of Hats. It's, so we're hanging out with some people, and people are having personal issues.
Yeah, and I don't think it's the worst, but it is hamstrung a little bit by some of the dumb that's happening.
Some of the, okay, this is now happening, I guess.
So this is the Icarus factor, because Icarus, he didn't listen to his father and died.
Whoops. So are we going to be flying too close to the sun here?
I mean, yeah, they could have used that for any number of episodes involving suns and exploding and being too close to same.
Yes, though I guess we could double entendre this a little bit, and we get too close to the son of the dad in the episode.
Mm-hmm.
So we get burned as a result, I guess, or melt, or fall to our death,
Yeah. I mean, he does fall a little bit. This was written by David S. Sell, who wrote stories for The Love Boat and Saint Elsewhere, as well as a lot of other contemporary shows. I guess kind of the Love Boat thing shows through, because, it's just a bunch of people on a ship having interpersonal problems.
Indeed. They have written stuff a little bit more recently, The Jade Pendant in 2017, and also Call of the Wild, an episode of that apparently back in 2000, even The Crime in 2015, so a little bit here and there, but not a whole lot since Star Trek.
Still doing some random junk, but probably nothing recently, given everyone's on strike.
Yeah, they also wrote 13 episodes of The Gangster Chronicles. Huh. Guess that's the thing.
And we only really have one main guest star worth worrying about, who is Mitchell Ryan, who's playing Kyle Riker.
Now, Mitchell here is an older fellow, so, clearly he's going to be the daddy in the situation.
Yes. He's probably best known for playing Brooke Devlin on a 60s soap opera called Dark Shadows that I've never seen because I don't into 60s soap operas. He is also a villain in Lethal Weapon and is also well known in the 90s for playing Edward Montgomery, the dad on Dharma and Greg.
Now, Dark Shadows is like a soap opera, but there's like a vampire, I believe. And then they did like a movie a few years back that some people saw, I guess.
You would think some people saw, though. From the reception that I think it got, I don't know if anyone really actually did see.
Yeah. I know some people that did go out to the theaters to see it, so I know that at least someone saw it. Just, not many people. Yeah, he'd been kind of in a whole bunch of random things, he's guest characters usually, sometimes recurring characters like in Murder, She Wrote, an episode of Matlock, stuff like that. Oh, there's also a special hidden guest star today, too.
Oh, no, the hidden guest stars.
Yes, so we run into some Klingons at some point here, and one of them is played by John Tesh, the musician. Yeah.
Because he was a massive Star Trek fan and just got to be a Klingon, because you can make anyone a Klingon, really.
Yes. Like, can you scowl? Okay, you're good. You're in.
That's really it. So
Yes. Yeah, we could talk about Ensign Herbert, but why bother?
I know, Herbert. The great Ensign Herbert, who for some reason is just in the lists, even though he's in one scene where he does the transporter thing, and he's just a random dude who doesn't show up again.
Yeah, it's the actor's been in a few things, mostly guest star sort of roles, but Lance Spellerberg. Anyway, let's shout Herbert at each other for a while, Gepwin.
Yeah, remember that? Anybody remember that? Because I forgot until I was trying to look up who the heck Herbert was.
So suddenly we're going to have a lot of musical numbers, and it's not as good as the Strange New World episodes. So, Herbert.
And helpfully, Wikipedia is informing me that the title of this episode is derived from Greek mythology.
Surprise! We couldn't have figured this out because it's one of the more well-known stories in Greek mythology.
Yeah.
Which, if you're unaware somehow, is there's a couple guys that are like stuck on Crete because they've been captured or something like that. And they're like, let's get out of here. And the dad's like, I got an idea. And so they made some wings out of wax. And apparently they're good enough to fly out of their like prison, which was like, above ground, not like in a hole or a labyrinth somewhere. And they start flying away, but the son's like, oh no, I like the sun. I'm going to go up there. And because they didn't understand how the atmosphere worked, they went up and the wings melted because in the sun they'd melt. And you get close to it.
Because you get closer to the sun and it gets hotter. Because everyone knows the higher you are, the hotter it gets.
Yeah, if you're like in space and unable to like venture heat, I guess that could be a problem. But, in the atmosphere, not really.
Yeah. Yeah. Icarus exhibiting classic moth behavior.
Yes. So don't be a moth. That's the lesson of the story.
Yes. Moths are stupid and they will melt. That's my takeaway from this tale of listening to your father, and apparently. Moths are dumb.
So, don't be a moth.
All right, we can jump in to... it's not bad. I have some... I didn't like this episode when I was younger, and... I watched Dharma and Greg before I saw this episode, which always made me think that him showing up was just exceedingly funny.
It's like, oh yeah, it's him. Wait a second. Does this mean there's a crossover?
Yeah, Dharma and Greg crossover episode.
Well, there is a St. Elsewhere connection already, but anyway.
So we begin, and there's might or might not be something wrong with the engines.
Dun dun dun.
Data thinks there's nothing to worry about, but the ship is going to be stopping at a starbase anyway, so they may as well have them take a look at it while they're there, and they do some minor personnel transfers that Picard wants to talk to Riker about later.
Cool. Wait a second. Didn't just a few episodes back we have an episode called Contagion where the ship's computer was like going all weird on them, and they're like, oh no, we don't know how to fix this. All sorts of problems going on. Maybe that's coming back.
Yeah, that's why it messed up, because they had to do a hard reboot and whatever.
Yes.
So Picard has Riker join him in the lounge, and he starts to wax lyrical about Riker's first day, and how great it was, and how much he likes him, because Starfleet is offering Riker his first command, ship called the Ares.
Another Greek reference. Alternatively, they've played the game by Bigger Planets back in the day.
The Ares is a small ship that is currently exploring the ass end of nowhere, but it would be his own command.
So you'll be able to go to the middle of nowhere and explore deep space, and that could be fun.
That's what they're doing constantly, so it's kind of it's like it's out in the middle of nowhere exploring new space. Not like what we're doing, where we're on the frontier exploring new space. The Enterprise gets the interesting side of the galaxy.
Yeah, the part of the galaxy near the Romulans and the Klingons and later the Cardassians all at the same time somehow, and
yeah, apparently no one lives on the other side of the Federation.
Yes. That's where like the Tholians live, and the other folks that we rarely hear about. Guess the Gorn would also be over there. They're kind of relevant currently in the Star Trek discussions and things.
Yeah, they just disappeared by the time you got to this era. they stopped doing anything. I guess those magic aliens really did keep them separated.
The Metrons, was it?
Yeah. Don't want to go that way. There's Metrons. That's the problem. Everything that direction is what we saw in original series. And like, let's not go there. It's a silly place.
The first Federation guys, we don't want to deal with them. I mean, like, they gave us Tranya, but still.
So they finally arrive at the starbase where they're beaming up a civilian advisor to give Riker the details of his possible new command. Riker arrives in the transporter room to find his own father, who he's not spoken to in 15 years.
Dun, dun, dun.
And who he immediately pawns off on security so he can run away.
Well, I guess this is a good show of your ability to handle a crisis, Riker.
Yeah, I also really enjoy how, I know they weren't doing continuity, and I don't think it's important. But I just love that this means he was full on lying to the Klingons about father relationships in a matter of honor.
It's like, I'm totally bros with my dad.
It's like, what? You haven't talked to your own father?
Riker, if the Klingons ever find out that you lied to them, I think they're like obligated to like at least punch you a few times or something like that.
Or go like, haha, you tried to pretend you had a good relationship with your father. You also wish him to die.
You have as much respect for your family as I do. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know.
So Wesley tries to bother Worf about Riker and his father, leading Worf to yell at him. And Wesley heads to engineering, where the starbase engineering team are working on the engines, much to LaForge's annoyance, because he doesn't want them messing with his engines. He's just running around. He's like, don't touch it, just calibrated that.
Stop poking things. You're going to mess things up. Getting my efficiency up to like bazillion% here. Come on.
Wesley tries to share his concerns about Worf. He said he's annoyed. He's always annoyed. It's like he's more annoyed than usual.
Now, usually he just grumbles and slinks off. Now he's like yelling at me, and I know I'm Wesley and everything, but still.
They suggest that Wesley should observe Worf because he's the one who found the problem. So, he has to take some initiative.
And plus, Data and LaForge are kind of busy right now, with their engine problems. Yeah.
So Riker is now depressed in 10 Forward, and he's drinking with O'Brien. Riker's upset about his father, who just, walks in, apparently knows everyone. He's one of those annoying popular people.
Gosh, he's just so popular. Yeah, he's your dad. Why is this a problem? I don't know.
He also apparently knows Pulaski, who walks up and gives him a big kiss before they sit down.
Wait a moment. They have a pre-existing relationship?
Apparently. Look at that.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I guess technically it was maybe hinted at when they were doing that, cooking scene in the other episode, but, that was more of a... you'll blink and it miss it sort of connection. But here it's like, like this, what?
So Riker can't stand to see his dad here anymore, and he actively confronts them. He's angry that Pulaski never told him that she knew his father, but of course it, doesn't just come up in conversation, because why would it?
Maybe Pulaski could have mentioned like, oh yeah, I knew your father. It's good to work with you, like, day 1 or 2 there, but I guess they were dealing with weird child stuff.
Yeah, she was famously standoffish in the first episode, so that we would not like her for I don't know what that, still don't know why they didn't want us to like her.
Shrug.
So Riker leaves again. Kyle and Pulaski talk about their past. It's not really important. They're just like, didn't get together because, they liked being in a relationship, but they wouldn't work together as people. And also, Kyle is sad that he has a bad relationship with his son.
Also, I don't remember if it was here or a different bit of the episode, but there's like the revelation that Pulaski's been married a whole bunch of times. So I'm like, so if you didn't work out with everybody else and you don't think it'll work out with him, maybe you're just a bad judge of what relationships will work here.
Yeah, that's fine. Just serial relationships. It's fine. People do that.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying, maybe you got it all backwards and you should just like hook up with him. Maybe things will be fine.
So Data and LaForge are also hanging out in 10 Forward, and they're watching Worf stare sadly out of a window.
These two, they need like more holodeck time, I think.
Anyone on this ship needs a hobby. They're all very, very involved in each other's lives.
Yes. I mean, they're all friends and stuff, but, there's still a certain amount of, I spend all my time with my coworkers as is. I need some me time, or time with anyone else. I know it's part of the fiction, constraints here of a TV show, but still, when all the weird stuff happening to the ship happens to the same group of folks already is sort of a given, maybe like have Data and Geordi have like a group of friends that they kind of hang out with as opposed to only each other. I don't know.
But then they're the bros. We love our Star Trek bros.
Well, you don't have to have, the other group of folks actually have a line. You just, it's like they spend a lot of time together and they're bros and, on and off the clock. But, they also have other folks in their lives.
Yeah, every now and then in the background, you see them hanging out with other...
Yeah. They could even be doing it as both of them together, So it's like they're the main bros, but they also have other folks that, they consider mutual friends.
That's true. They they don't want to put extras next to the main characters in case they get too much in the camera. So,
yeah.
So Data decides to go talk to Worf and see if he's lonely. He's not, and he has to be left alone, very clearly.
Yes. Go to hell. Go away.
Worf later goes to bug Riker in his room, where Riker is reminiscing over old photos of his childhood in Alaska, where his father was controlling and unsupportive.
Well, these are good memories to reflect on, I guess. Hey, it's Denali.
Worf is here to ask Riker if he will consider taking him into his new command, where they can die in glorious combat.
Oh, well,
very reassuring there, Worf. Good vote of confidence.
So you're just feeling extra suicidal today. Got it. I don't know about that, honestly.
So Riker again sees his father, this time for that briefing they've been talking about. He's not really here for the briefing. He just hands him a file. Cal really came here to try to talk, but Riker's like, okay, I've got my file, bye.
Yeah. If you wanted to talk, I guess there are other ways to do it other than, surprise, I'm here for your work stuff.
Kyle goes to sickbay because he wants to whine to Pulaski. Pulaski immediately pawns him off on Troy, and she just reads him for filth. Calls out his weird competitive streak with his son. He goes to talk again, interrupting Riker and Picard, who were talking about the Ares first officer who speaks 40 different languages.
Neat. It's a regular Hoshi up in here.
Picard leaves them to talk to each other, but they just fight a bit again. Kyle runs out saying that if him being a dad for 13 years wasn't enough, that's just too bad.
So he's 13 years?
Yeah. Guy is not
from home?
even a little bit a good father. Like, not even slightly.
It's like, I'm going to treat you like a mini adult. That's how being a dad works, right?
And for when you're 13, I leave, and if that wasn't enough for you, suck it.
Yeah.
So meanwhile, Wesley has finally worked out what's going on with Worf. It's the 10th anniversary of his Age of Ascension, which is an important ritual in the Klingon culture. So they need to throw him a big Klingon party on the holodeck.
Oh, cool. Got lots of blood wine, right?
Yeah, probably. Everything with the Klingons involves blood wine eventually.
Yes. Maybe Klingon strippers?
That would be an interesting one. They probably just don't take their clothes off and throw things at you.
Yes. So why is there so many props on stage? So they have things to throw at you. Well, come on. Do you get to take them home? No.
So Riker goes to talk to Pulaski, since she knew his father, and she tells him the story about how she fell in love with him because he was the last survivor of an attack on a starbase, and she liked how good he was at not dying.
So, I guess all you have to do to get into Pulaski's heart is live long enough?
Mm-hmm. I'm starting to work out why none of her marriages worked.
Yes.
Like, hey, you, who just went through unimaginable trauma.
Let's hook up. Oh, wait. This is a terrible idea.
Also, Riker needs to stop whining.
Yeah, but also his dad is also a jerk, and maybe he should just kind of realize that and be okay with it. But,
Yeah.
We've established our borders, our boundaries here, and I don't feel like dealing with this anymore, so could you just go away? I don't need you in my life.
Riker then goes to Troy. They have a very confused cry because he's leaving, maybe. And also they still have no idea how to write this relationship.
Yes. Are they, former lovers, good friends, something in between, something else entirely? Who knows?
Yeah, what is happening?
Maybe it's, just the weirdness of, someone who's half Betazoid hooking up with someone with a lot of daddy issues. I don't know.
So Kyle comes to bother Riker again. It really doesn't go well, and they challenge him to Anbu-jitsu so they can fight it out. They just picked a random, cool-sounding martial arts name.
Yeah, just like jiu-jitsu, but different because there's ambo in front.
Yeah, because you ambulate.
Which I guess is kind of true.
Before we get to that, Troy leads Worf to his surprise party. He is not happy, but she had to get him to the holodeck sometime where Wesley, Geordi, Data, O'Brien, and Pulaski are all waiting for him in a Klingon hall lined with large warriors holding pain sticks.
Now, Worf, earlier we learned that if somebody, like a certain kind of critter gets hit with one of these, they die, and then they're by a head explosion. So be careful with that.
Yeah, that's just a fun story O'Brien's telling. It's like, oh yeah, I saw somebody's head explode. O'Brien's seen some shit.
Yeah. Later he definitely gets a reputation of being the guy who has all the worst things in Star Trek ever happen to him. But that might be like the better end of his life so far, given what he has experienced.
So Worf walks in between the two lines of Klingon warriors, recites a Klingon oath, sort of, and then gets stabbed. And he does this about 5 or 6 times. Data explains that the highest achievement of Klingon culture is to express your deepest feelings while in extreme pain.
Well, we don't know what he's saying in Klingon, but good on him.
Mm-hmm. Worf reaches the end and collapses in front of all of his friends, very, very happy.
Well, glad you are happy, Worf. Do you need medical treatment at this point, or what?
He's just needs wine, probably. Seems very Klingon. So Pulaski meets Troy after because she decided to skip the party. They have a talk about Riker and his father, gender-linked traits of violence, and how human men never really grow up, and that's why women find them sexy.
Well, that's a little weird, but okay.
Get some good old 80s gender essentialism in there.
Yeah, that could be how you want to view it, but things could be a little bit more complicated than that. Yeah.
It's just so ridiculous. It's like, why are the silly men fighting each other? We're so much more evolved than that, but I like it when they fight. Makes me hard.
Well, good on you, but, Pulaski, are you going after the older or the younger one at this point?
So, Kyle Riker and Riker are in the Anbu-jitsu ring. They're wearing ridiculous plastic armor, and they are carrying stupid big sticks.
Mm-hmm. So they can fight in the dark, which I guess is the closest translation for what Anbu-jitsu means, like staff fighting in the dark.
Now, thankfully this isn't modern Star Trek, because if this was modern Star Trek, the fact that they're waving these big sticks around, this would be the sportified version of the time that Kirk had to fight Spock with the big Vulcan slashy sticks.
Yes.
And they would have played the fight music. And I cannot, realistically, given this scene, decide which one of those options would be stupid.
Because, this scene very much feels like a weird holdover from the first season that was also a holdover from the classic series.
Yeah.
Like, all right, we got a weird fight martial arts thing, and we're just doing it because that's what we have to do now. Okay, cool.
So they cover their eyes, because part of the helmet is a big blast shield thing, and they have to fight without seeing each other, because when you point the stick at the other person, it makes a little beepy noise.
Yes, and I think it's like if you just point it directly at the other BP noise, I guess diode or whatever, it's what you get. So if you like just hold your staff back, you'll never be able to be detected, but also don't know where anybody is.
Yeah,
So-
but they also never use that because having done a lot of martial arts, you would immediately hit upon a strategy to hold your stick out to the sides so that when they try to hit it, they aren't hitting directly at you.
Yes,
But they hold it right in front of their center of mass for some reason.
like I guess it means it's easier to make a swing with, but also it's easier to get spotted and hit with. So
Maybe it's against the rules? I don't know.
yeah. I guess you just have to respond whenever you don't get the beepy sound and assume that they're taking the swing at you and just not move, I guess.
Yeah, having the beepy sound is very dumb.
Yeah. But it's the future, so we have to have some future martial arts. I
Yeah,
guess.
future stupid things. It would have been better if they just said, trust your feelings.
Yes. With a blast shield down, I can't see anything.
Your eyes can trick you.
Don't trust them. Sort of an aside here, but that's kind of what happens in Dragon Ball Z at one point, where you're like, Gohan, you reach out with your other senses, and you'll be able to keep track of the fight and stuff because everyone's like doing their crazy fast martial arts stuff here, and he's like, I can't actually see anyone. Oh gosh. Anyway,
Riker knocks Kyle out of the ring, yelling that he should have been the one to die, not his mom. They fight more. This time, Kyle knocks Riker down and goes, you couldn't miss your mother as much as I miss my wife, because he's a terrible human being.
I guess this does remind me a little bit of the recent Dungeons and Dragons movie to a little bit degree, but Kyle's didn't learn a lesson at the end of this adventure.
Yeah,
so.
His entire arc was to learn that he was actually using that as an excuse for his own selfish behavior.
Mm-hmm. But, Kyle's just like, I'm just going to be a jerk still. Anyway, the fight.
Yeah. They fight more. Riker gets knocked down again, but then he calls foul because Kyle was using an illegal move. In fact, now that he thinks about it, he has always cheated.
So apparently if you do the leg sweep thing, that's just forbidden, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Kyle says, of course, because you were better than me almost immediately. I needed to keep you challenged.
So you cheated. So that's just kind of being a jerk.
Yeah, this guy is a complete asshole.
Yeah, you are allowed to lose sometime, guy,
Yeah.
if you could still be a challenge while not dominating every single match. Come on.
Riker's suddenly like, you know what? Glad you came, Dad. I love you, and goodbye, see you never.
Yeah. All right, I'm done with this. I'm going to do the platitudes, and he's gone. Oh, thank goodness.
Back on the bridge, they're getting ready to leave. The engineering team from the starbase found out that nothing was wrong with the engines, just like Data and Geordi said. The crew is vindicated. The crew is always right. Trust the crew.
Yeah, just recalibrate the display. It's fine. It's something that's wrong on that end and not actually a problem from all the various weird stuff you've encountered so far.
And then Riker appears, having decided to not take a promotion and just stay on the cool person ship.
Well, I guess Riker, you're going to wait for a more prestigious promotion in the near future then, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do enjoy how, there's 7 times through the series that they stupidly do this arc, which I think is dumb because this is one of your main characters. You're choosing to write this stupid unendable conflict in here.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get rid of him, yet you keep writing this for some reason like you can and trying to make it a point of contention.
All right, so I guess for one, he's the only person that has a career motivation to go up the ranks and things like that, and so he's going to be the only one that's really has this plot at all. And 2, he's going to keep turning his back on it. Why?
Yeah,
in the fiction. Why?
I know. At some point, it's just why is he doing this? We don't have a character reason why he's doing this. It doesn't make sense. But then also, now that we've gotten so much further on, every time he does it, they go, they're going to stop offering you promotions if you keep turning them down. Yep. But apparently he just waits long enough that eventually he gets enough like political cachet inside of Starfleet that they just give him the next best ship after the Enterprise.
So, you want to be at the top of the line on ships? Well, I guess we're just going to skip that whole intermediary command thing here and just give you the Titan. Okay.
Yeah, because Ares wasn't a cool enough name. He wanted the Titan.
Well, a Titan is like, in Greek mythology still, one of those beings that's like, Kronos, and, Kronos is like Zeus's dad. So that means he's older and thus more powerful, right?
Yeah, they're precursor gods.
Yeah. So, that means they're more badass than the Ares.
Yeah, they seem to represent primordial forces more so than like elemental douchery like the other Greek gods did.
Yes. So,
earth and time and etc.
And there's also like the Hecatoncheires or whatever it was. It's like, all right, it's like a monster and it just has lots of hands.
Yeah.
Okay.
Greek and Roman mythology is what you get when you take every existing Bronze Age religion and put them into a bag and shake them up really hard.
Yep. It's like, yeah, we'll incorporate this guy. He seems cool.
So, right, Icarus factor. Did they fly too close to the sun?
Well, we got pretty close to Riker at the very least, but not really in terms of sun exposure, I guess. Maybe we're a little warm? It's a sunny day, maybe?
This is a continuous plot that, like, I kind of hate. I really, really hate. This is a light version of the plot. I've seen worse. But this is a plot line that I kind of summarize as you finally get fed up and confront your horrible, abusive, neglectful father that you have hated your entire life. And then he goes, but I had a good reason for being an abusive, neglectful father. And you go, I never realized all those times he was hitting me, it's because he couldn't say I love you.
Maybe he should have just said I loved you instead of hitting you. Because, him, quote, being, unable to do it, in the big quotes there, that's more of a him problem than a you problem. So, yeah, you can still blame someone for having crappy behavior.
Yeah, this is a storyline that people love for some reason. It's I have been estranged from my dad, or I am a child who is like reaching adolescence and gaining freedom from my shitty dad.
Mm-hmm.
One of the two. And that's like, well, your shitty dad was a person too. It's like, oh my fucking God. Blows my mind.
I wouldn't expect this to be a thing. Oh no. If it was like a plot that was like occasional and other variants that are less crappy, were, much more common, I don't think I and other folks would have, I guess, so much of a groaning sort of response to it. But it is just so dominating in our culture that, there's this sort of apologism for crappy parents like this that, no, we don't have to actually put up with this. We can actually, become independent of this nonsense and, look forward to, making improvements on, if we decide to raise a family, on how we raise our kids for the next generation, as opposed to, just kind of being, giving the thumbs up is like, yeah, that was okay, and not really learning anything from it.
They feel like they really need to lean in for some reason. Because it's never you, as a father, were also human and made some understandable mistakes and faced a lot of social and psychological pressures involving fatherhood and being worried about raising a child and bringing them into the world, etc. And now you regret some of those mistakes, and so does your kid, and you deal with them in an appropriate manner because now you're both adults.
Mm-hmm.
It's always, this was one of the worst human beings alive, but the kid learns to love them.
Like, are we all just experiencing Stockholm Syndrome or something like that? I just don't get it.
Hey, America has this weird obsession with shitty fathers. I mean, it's basically our entire governmental system is shitty fathers.
Oh, we have to have someone in our life that expresses a strong chin sort of factor in all of this, and that means that they are worthy of our support and love, and so we're going to support them through thick and thin, no matter what, even if it makes no dang sense. So, the 2024 election.
Even this basic idea at the end, the thing that brought them together is him saying, if I couldn't beat you up enough, it wouldn't have prepared you for the world. And Riker goes, you know what? You're right, and I can understand that and love you.
Yeah, I would very much have preferred Now, I learned to be a good commander in spite of you, not because of you, and maybe we could learn that early Riker in his career was actually like a terrible officer. That he was aggressive and competitive with everyone around him, but then he learned to actually work with folks, and then things were a lot better.
Yeah, because the real weird kicker with this is someone who would have that attitude. Someone who would be like, you know what? Yes, my dad was incredibly horrible and harsh with me, but that's just what you need to learn and prepare for the world, and it made me the man I am today. That person would still have a good relationship with their father.
Yeah. Someone who's maybe experienced, a life where those lessons were not necessary would, look back and resent their experiences with their crappy dad. So, maybe it makes sense.
Some people use that as a way to apologize for behavior because you don't want to think your parents did anything wrong or negative. So even if they did, if you had otherwise good parents who made some fairly demonstrably crappy parenting decisions, it's fairly common to come in later and go, well, I turned out as this amazing person that I am now, so all of their parenting decisions must have been good because me being okay demonstrates this. And that's not an uncommon attitude, and in some ways it's not awful if, you had a generally good parent who made a few mistakes.
Yeah.
But that kind of apologism does enter into someone who had a truly abusive parent.
Yes.
But they don't want to admit they had an abusive parent. So they go, no, I turned out good. My parent was good. I still have a good relationship with my abusive parent. Oftentimes they're still being neglectful or abusive even while you're an adult.
But I love them.
The kind of person who would separate themselves like this would need their parent to deal with the neglect and or abuse that they did when they were a kid. Instead of this weird thing of going, I didn't understand that you had a reason for abusing me. This changes everything.
Gosh, oh golly. I'm now going to accept all the horrible things you've ever done to me because it now has an excuse. Not a good reason, excuse, really. Yeah, it's just so frustrating. I will admit that overall, I would say that, my own parent, experience with my parents has been, on the positive side. There are things that I think back, it's like, this maybe could have been done, quite a bit better, but, it's still, not anywhere near in terms of, badness, what we are being shown here. And, there are, of course, parents in the world that are much worse than Kyle Riker, but still being a manipulative jerk like this is not good.
Yeah, the stuff that they show it demonstrably is I abandoned my child when he was 13. I have no idea what the age of adulthood is in the Federation, but usually that's a no-no.
Well, we sort of experience later that Klingons become adults at age 8 or something like that. So maybe that happens to humans too.
And he resented his son for the death of his wife, and he didn't want to be a dad and got stuck with it, is the thing that he's saying. He thought his wife was going to do all the work, and then she died, and he's like, no, now I have to take care of a child.
No, well...
and he resents it.
Yeah. Oh no, responsibilities for something I was involved in.
He flat out says, if I wasn't a good enough father for you, that's your problem.
That's not how it works.
And then he admits to cheating at sports so that he can never let his kid win, because if his kid ever felt like they, were capable of doing things or had a sense of accomplishment in themselves, that would be bad.
So, no risk of growing up always feeling like a loser and thus giving up on life or anything like that, right? Not at all.
And you do somewhat backdoor, like you said, the endorsement of this because, Riker is in a power position. He's an incredibly driven person who's advanced massively in his own chosen career, which by all accounts in this world is an incredibly difficult one.
Even beyond like the space anomalies and, aliens of the week trying to, eat your brains, things like that, there's a certain level of, work ethic that's sort of, required in order to get your stuff done here in the Federations and Starfleets in terms of getting your recognition and promotion here. So yeah, it's, very much a case of, if you get to this point, you're probably a badass in some capacity.
We could talk about this shitty trope a lot. I don't think there's any more ground in going over it again.
Not a whole lot, I suppose, but I guess we could always talk about Worf instead.
I love what they do with the Klingons through Worf in Next Generation, because they've demonstrating a culture that is antithetical to modern or even the supposed future values that we see for humanity.
Mm-hmm.
And yet they all go, we're going to go watch our friend get tortured because it's part of his culture, damn it.
And, he's okay with it. In fact, he wants it. So, okay, I guess this is a thing. And so, it is also, kind of interesting that, not only is there this very, I guess, hyper-tolerant sort of aspect to the Starfleet and the Federation for all this, but also that, Worf, who has been very much grown up in a human society, is, not only, I guess, eager and desireful of the Klingon sort of cultural side of things here, but is A-okay with sharing it with folks that he knows might be a little thrown off in terms of the experience themselves, given that it's very alien to them. So I guess this is a weird sort of two-way tolerance, but also Worf's getting hit with paint sticks.
Well, as you see through Worf's various character arcs in here, he's doing that thing where you take the belief system so literally that it denies exclusion, because in his interpretation of Klingon beliefs, being a true warrior at heart is the most important thing anyone can do.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that his friends are true warriors at heart and his real family, etc., is all he needs to be able to share these deep religious experiences and things.
Yeah.
We in fact don't get a sense that Klingon culture is particularly exclusionary, other than the fact that they believe that it wowould kill a lesser person.
Yeah, so, and some of that is sort of part of the Klingon bravado that, if, the true Klingon warriors are able to put up with stuff, then clearly no one else can. So, it's, not necessarily we're trying to push you out, but we're, demonstrating that, to ourselves that we are, the badass image of ourselves that we believe ourselves to be. And, there is, a certain level of, that is kind of true in terms of your ability to tolerate pain and, I guess eat a targ heart or something like that. But, there's still a level of, I guess, cultural and self-assurance that's kind of coming into that sort of claims here. And so, whenever somebody who's not a Klingon does a thing that's, Klingons, find unlikely that anyone would be able to do, they're like, oh gosh, this is amazing. I now have so much respect for you now.
No, they don't bring Worf and Riker together very much in the storylines. It could have been interesting to get a Klingon perspective on fatherhood, because that would have made more sense on the, your father's job isn't to love or respect you. Your father's job is to try to beat you to death. And if you live, you can have him have great honor.
Which I guess is a way to look at sort of a lot of the Klingon stuff in general. If you survive, you're going to be okay, and everyone will respect you, which, kind of goes into the whole Klingon honor code that we're starting to sort of develop at this part of the series.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess the vision of it I would also see is that a father of in a Klingon family is also there to be a guide, not necessarily someone who's just there to beat you. And the beating is just part of that guidance and sort of program in what they sort of have as a culture. And it might be a bit more loving than the Kyle Riker sort of version of it too, where he's cheating and lying about things and all that in order to toughen you up. No, it'll be like, no, I beat you down because, you need to be tough, and I'm going to be very direct with you about this because, I don't want you to be killed randomly by, some background character sometime down the road. So, yeah. I'm helping train you to be a barbarian, so I take the hit point damage.
I do think it's kind of interesting in this episode because, Kyle Riker is demonstrating a horrible brand of toxic masculinity where his own lack of ability to have feelings for a child is making him a terrible father, and he feels in a justified way because the mom was supposed to deal with all of that.
Dads can love their kids too, guy. Come on.
But the other storyline, and a lot of the stuff that you get with Worf, would classically also fall into a lot of the tropes that we think of when we think of toxic masculinity. Mm-hmm. The entire idea that the height of Klingon culture is to be able to experience great pain and put up with it in this kind of bravado-y way.
That's a bit on the toxic side, because really in order to be your best self, you don't, generally need to be experiencing a lot of pain. So, yeah, this is a little weird, but, alien cultures, you can kind of get away with, a lot of stuff that you wouldn't with an actual human character.
I think that one of the interesting things that you get with this, even if it was a human character, one, they bring in an emotional aspect to it, because Riker's whole story arc is your toxic father can't experience real emotions, and he's a dick about it. And Worf's thing is expressing your truest emotions while in ridiculous amounts of pain is highly laudable and possibly more honest in some interpretations. But also, Worf doesn't and never either pushes this on anyone or offers anyone disrespect for not doing the same way that he does.
Yeah, he's miffed generally, but, that's not something he's going out of the way to, try to resolve here, because, he's not trying to push himself on other folks, he just said.
He's upset because he can't do an important cultural religious practice, but, he's not demanding it of anyone. He's not making anyone else do it with him. He's doesn't make any of the other ones go through it, and then they still get to go to the party. It's so non-exclusionary that he has his own personal viewpoint of what makes him a good person for himself. And we don't agree with all of that, but he doesn't push it on others.
Exactly. So, it's very much a situation where, you are being yourself, and that's okay. And everyone else sort of how they interact with it, that's up to them. And they just happen to have made choices that make Worf feel better, and he appreciates that. But he wasn't expecting it. He wasn't, trying to, it's like, hey, this is a thing here. It's very much a, I'm going to let this sort of, transpire without me making a thing. And that sucks. Oh, hey, my friends came through for me. That's great, actually. This is a bonding experience in more than one way now, because they've shown respect for what I'm about and have decided to participate themselves. That's kind of cool. Thanks, guys.
Which is exactly why, in this interpretation of things, they're willing to help Worf do this arguably very toxic thing to himself. Mm-hmm. Because it's his own personal choice. It's an important practice for him and his culture. And they know that he's not going to do anything about it to them. He's going to be grateful and work with his friends on being able to do and appreciate this thing. If one of them was like, hey, let's get Kyle Riker and do this jiu-jitsu thing, he's going to cheat and beat them all up.
Yep. So, this is a good way to interact with people versus a bad way. So I guess that's the moral of the episode.
Yeah.
Don't, force yourself on other folks, and don't cheat at a, sport when you're beating up your 13-year-old.
Yeah. 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 Don't do that. I had that relationship with my father. It's not great.
guess I guess the thing for me to say is I'm sorry to hear that. I'm not quite sure what else to say, honestly, because
it happens.
It was kind of already laid out that there's a lot of people in the world that are kind of crappy dads, and there are good dads out there, but it's still kind of a thing, unfortunately.
I guess the thing I would say to people who don't think that's a problem, your kid knows you're being a dick.
Yep. They might not be willing to say so because, well, you're in a position of power over them. But, when they are no longer having to suffer with that nonsense, they'll let you know.
All right, that got depressing.
Yeah.
Because it always does.
Well, maybe something non-depressing for a little while. And, I don't have any candy with me. What else do we got, Gepwin?
We could do the Galaxy's favorite game show! Woo!
Hey everybody, welcome to Galaxy's favorite game show. Our various contestants have been racking up all sorts of points here today, and we are ready to hand out some prizes. The first one to hand out is the Shut Up Wesley prize, which goes to Worf, because instead of being cleared about what was bothering him, he just kind of gets angry at the kid and storms off. What does he win, Gepwin?
Worf needs a please don't touch me, I'm having a Klingon moment button. Because that would save him a lot of grief in the future.
Yes. Just kind of, put it there next to his comm badge so it's nice and obvious, and then people are like, oh, okay, I'll tread lightly around you, and I'll wait until, it's time to introduce you to prune juice, later on. Anyway, our second prize is the TV Love Story prize, which goes to Pulaski for apparently loving Riker's dad just so much, but it having never really come up before. What does she win, Gepwin?
She wins a cruise for her and Riker where they go sail around and talk about romantic things or do interpersonal stuff. I've never actually seen the Love Boat, so I don't know what they do, but I imagine it's that.
Yes. And this is going to be in space or in an ocean somewhere, or maybe a space ocean.
Yeah, space ocean.
Yes. Our third and final prize today is the Baffling Martial Arts prize, which goes to Kyle Riker for introducing us to a supposedly ultimate evolution of martial arts that involves not being able to see things and beeping stuff and sticks. What does he win, Gepwin?
I think they just didn't take it far enough. So they need the ultimate evolution of the martial arts. You don't get to see, you don't get to hear, you don't get to talk. You're hog-tied and put in a bag, and you have to just flop around until one of you gets pushed out of the ring.
What sort of, secret muscles can you make use of in order to knock your opponent around? Let's find out. Oh, that's all the prizes we got here today. Maybe I should have, introduced one about Riker turning down promotions constantly, but yeah, maybe next time. Anyway, take us away, Gepwin.
Yes, thanks to all of our contestants, and thank you for joining us on the Galaxy's favorite game show. Woo!
I just realized something.
Mm-hmm.
So, Deanna Troi, has that conversation with Kyle Riker, and she's like, yeah, here's all the problems that you are. Some of it is she's very much reading him, empathic and all that. But she's probably heard everything from William Riker already.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people could relate to that, going like, no. I've dated your kid. I know all about what's going on with you.
Yep. So, here's all the things that he's willing to say, but also all the things that he's not willing to say at this point. So, where should we start? On point A or point Z?
Like, not only have I heard the stories, I've seen what you did to this man's psyche. I have been all up in that brain.
And, there's some parts of it that are like, seems nice on the surface, but you just go a little deep in, and, it makes that time, I got, in tune with the weird space jellyfish thing, all that pain sort of levels there. Seems quite pleasant, actually. So yeah, Troy kind of has a leg up on him.
Yeah.
So what do we got next week?
Next week we have what I think is interesting because I always remembered this as a slightly goofy, silly kind of episode that wasn't particularly well done. But then on this rewatch, it's like, oh, this episode is that one that the older episode about the Prime Directive should have been.
Yep. We're actually going to have a discussion about what's the Prime Directive all supposed to be about and what the limits are and all this stuff there. So, we'll actually have some Star Trek stuff here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, it has one of the things that I find kind of horrific and the most horrific in all Star Trek. But I'll talk about that then.
Next time is Pen Pals, where Data gets letters from someone who is about to die.
Yep. Specifically a small child, so, Picard's going to be scared or something.
Yeah,
right?
Scared of children, but also, oh my god, the heart jerking.
Mm-hmm. Next time on Watchers of Tomorrow, Pulaski violates a child's brain. You have been listening to Watchers of Tomorrow, a podcast on science fiction media. Find and follow Watchers of Tomorrow on Podbean, YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, Spreader, Digital Podcast, and perhaps many more to come. If you enjoy our podcast, make sure to subscribe for more. And where possible, make sure to rate your experience or leave us a review. You may find Gepwin on youtube.com/Gepwin and Twitter @Gepwin. You may find me, Dr. Isix, on youtube.com/Dr. Isix and Twitter @IsixLP. Music is Waveform and Mori's Principle, both by DRKRN. You can also check out the Watchers of Tomorrow Discord channel. Make sure to share the experience with your friends, family, enemies, and alien overlords. If you feel you are suffering from transporter syndrome, please be aware that the next time you step off the transporter, that you, that is now, no longer exists.